Hello and welcome to another Pauper video. I'm Caw-gates. Today we are discussing decks of the week. We now have a new set that just released, Aetherdrift, so we'll see if it had any impact on the metagame. Before we get into it, remember you can get sideboard guides on patreon.com/Caw-gates. You can get early access to videos on the YouTube page. You can always check out cardmarket.com, largest seller of Magic the Gathering cards in Europe if you want to pick up the cards and you are in Europe. And you can like and subscribe, leave me a comment, let me know what you thought about these decks and cards and the metagame itself. Always happy to discuss in the comments. Hopefully I'll see you there. If you do actually want to talk more live, you can always join the Discords, which are linked in my link tree below. So let's get into the metagame. What happened last week? So this was the week of February 9th through 15th, and Aetherdrift released on February 11th. So that means that we had 2 days, really almost 3 days without Aetherdrift, and then 4.5 days with it. So overall, mono red taking up the top slot at 18 when we have black green and regular and Jund Glee separated. Then we have black green Glee behind it. A lot of walls, so congrats to the walls pilots. Dimir Fey at 6.3%. This was mostly off the back of Barf just posting tons and tons of trophies with his own version of Dimir Fey, which some people call Dimir Control because it has no ninjas. But I think if you're spell stuttering for a counterspell, that counts as fairies to me. It is what it is. That's why I've combined them. There was one that did have ninjas that managed to trophy this week. We have 7 Affinity, 7 Gruul, and 7 Jund Glee, and 7 Jund Wildfire. So a lot of decks at the 5.5%. Bogle's making a huge return to the metagame. 6 trophies, and then it falls off from there. Terror, Elves, Dimir Terror. We have a total of 12 one-ofs that made trophies. Some of them pretty cool. Don't want to spoil it, but Petitioners got a trophy, so that's going to be our spiciest list of the week. We'll see if there's any new tech in there. That's pretty cool to see. If you look at the combined metagame, Glee combo just edging out mono red in terms of the number of trophies at 19 versus 18. Just Glee is the best thing to be doing in the format, and mono red is extremely powerful, and some people say is maybe overrepresented in leagues, but definitely can start and just smash you. The next most trophy deck was Walls, so congrats to the Walls pilots. Affinity down there, Gruul ramp kind of below as well. People are trying to figure out if Affinity or Jund Wildfire is the best thing to be doing in the like Wildfire shell. So here's your chart. I was a little bit on top of the other one, so the other one is here. It kind of looks a little bit more spread out. Nothing really over the top, I guess. So let's hop into what we thought was the spiciest decks. Oh, actually, let's check out the metagame from the challenge. So Hexproof back in a big way at 12.2% of the entire weekend. That was the weekend of February 15, 16, or 14, 15, 16. So just at the end of this current week that I was looking at the trophies for. Brood Scale posting a 65% non-mirror win rate, where in one of the events they got first place, second place, and third place, I believe. So, and 8th place with like a 75% win rate in that event. That's pretty wild. Oldotha here, Grixis Affinity is still doing well. And then nobody else really has a hold on like what's actually the best thing to be doing. So it seems like you just want to be proactive, doing your thing, mostly. Mono Blue Fairies posting a pretty good win rate. Turbo Fog over here with 3 pilots just crushing. So what's the best win rate? Caw-gate. Yeah, Caw-gate actually won a challenge. I think it was Friday or Saturday. And we will go over what the new tech is, but they also dodged Glee in that. So, you know, a little bit of luck, a little bit of super skill, and crushing at a 7-2 record. That is sweet to see. So let's look at the decks by spiciness, organized by me. So let me know if you agree. So the first thing we're going to check out is Gruul Ramp. Gruul Ramp, not super spicy, but there is a new card from Aetherdrift, Hazard of the Dunes. It's a 4-mana 4/4 with trample and reach, and you can exhaust for 6 and a green to put 3 +1/+1 counters on this creature. So it is another 4-drop for the deck. You have Bannerhide, Hazard, and Writhing Chrysalis at 4. Your 3 drops are Jewel Thief and Repurposer. And the idea of the deck is that you are going to be slamming a 3 or 4 drop on turn 2 if at all possible. So your best start is Arbor Elf and a Forest. Turn 2, Utopia Sprawl and a Forest. Then you make 4 mana with Arbor Elf, and you put any of your 4 drops down. Now, Banner Hide is pretty good in this deck because it gives you a combat trick that cannot be interacted with, because Reinforce 2 for 1 and a green puts 2 +1/+1 counters on the creature at instant speed. They're also playing Ram Through in the deck, 2 of. I've seen other decks playing 4 of Ram Through specifically. It just seems like the deck's wanting to be playing some number of instant speed interaction in order to defeat the Glee opponents. Fortunately, this is not super clear. When you zoom in, it gets a little bit fuzzy, but I want you to be able to see it a little bit. In the sideboard, they've got Tormod's Crypt or Sandstorm. Now, this is mostly for mono red, but they could also be used against the mono blue opponents. Or Vines of Vastwood, looks like that's going to be coming in against the Glee opponents. Also kind of good against removal. At Disciple instead of Weather for burn. Something I've never seen before. A 5 mana 5/4 that ETB gain 3 life, and you can plot it for 3 and a green. So you could plot it on turn 2, cast it for free on turn 3 if you have the 4 mana, and just gains you even more life and is a big creature. The next list on spiciness scale is Bryant Cook's Cycle Storm list. Now, we've seen Cycle Storm before, but there is a new card, Magmakin Artillerist. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards, this creature deals that much damage to each opponent, and you can cycle it for 1 and a red. Because when you cycle this card, it deals 1 damage to each opponent as well. So this card does some interesting things. We know that a lot of people were excited about the end step combo, where you can combine it with something like Ophidian Eye or Snakeskin Umbra, so that whenever it deals damage, draw a card. And if you have 8 or more cards in hand, you go to your end step, and then you kind of just use the way the end step works, your cleanup step, to be like constantly discarding the hand size, but then drawing more cards, so you have to continue discarding the hand size, and then you just ping them out for your entire deck. One thing that Brian has used here is that this cleanup phase actually gets around Prismatic Strands. So if we look at the next deck, would be Caw-gates. Prismatic Strand says, prevent all damage to sources of the color of your choice would deal this turn. Now that lasts until end step. So on the cleanup step, that effect no longer exists, and the Magmakin can deal them damage. So one thing you can do in Cycle Storm specifically is like leave a Lotus Petal in play, have Songs of the Damned in hand, storm off. They've got the Prismatic Strands. You have just the 1 mana and the Songs of the Damned ready, and then you just, on end step with the Magmakin in play, discard a bunch of cards. You get priority back, Songs again, you Reaping again, you kill them. So that's a really cool way to get around Prismatic Strands and allows them to cut on the Flaring Pain that they were playing. They're also playing Chitin Gravestalker, which is a 5/4 for 6 mana, but it costs 1 less to cast for each artifact or creature card in your graveyard, and it has cycling for 2, which allows them to be playing another threat that you can win even if your opponent's like thinking about taking apart your graveyard, and you can cycle it during the turn when you're actually going off if you have that opportunity, and a little bit of extra mana. In my opinion, it looks a little bit pricey, but Bryant said that it was pretty good. So the next spiciness scale is Caw-gate, mostly because Caw-gate has completely disappeared from the meta up until this point. And it looks like what they've done is they've put Coalition Honor Guard in their main deck as a 2 of, and then they're also playing a bunch of Dispels. So they've got the 4 Counterspell, 3 Dispel. Dispel is looking very good in the current metagame because the best draw spells in the format are Deadly Dispute and Eviscerator's Insight, which are both instant speed spells. So handles that, tempos your opponent a little bit until you can get the Honor Guard down. Where a lot of players are not having a main deck way to answer this in the Glee decks. So this could be something that is like a back and forth metagaming where the Glee deck might have to be putting snuff outs or some way of giving this hexproof in their main deck, like Vines of Vastwood, so that they can actually go off. So if you had Vines of Vastwood, you could give the Coalition Honor Guard hexproof, then you wouldn't be able to target it. If you were the Glee player, and then you could win with your Glee, which would be pretty funny. Wouldn't work if they had 2 in play though. And it's cool to see Caw-gate coming back, especially after that win in the challenge. Next deck is Familiars. by Tart. They made a bunch of trophies recently, and they actually used to be a mono blue and blue red fairy pilot, just specifically playing fairies, but they've seemed to transition off of it to be playing a lot of this Esper familiars. They did make a trophy during this current week that I'm highlighting, and then 2 in a row on the 19th, which is today. They're playing Murmuring Mystic and Seagate Oracle. Oh, this one's not playing Seagate Oracle? Okay, this list is very interesting. It's got Faithful, Cleric, Familiar, Mystic, Arcanemancer, Muldrifter, and then 4 Meaning of Minds, 4 Lorien Revealed. And then specifically, the important thing is they're playing Snuff Out in the main deck, and then 3 Prohibit. So trying to rely on Meaning of Minds with their dinky creatures to get off. Yeah, just tons of birds to overwhelm your opponent. Snuff Out, very, very good, obviously, in the current format versus the Glee deck. Speaking of Snuff Out, we have 4-color Ephemerate by EHDM. This is really Jeskai Ephemerate splashing black, so I'll call it Jeskai Black. And the way this deck is working, they've got 4 Augur, 2 Mancer, and 4 Thorn of the Black Rose. The Thorn of the Black Rose is a bit of an upgrade over the previous versions of the Jeskai Ephemerate deck, because they had to play either the red Monarch creature or the blue Monarch creature, and this one can't be Hydroblasted or Pyroblasted, so you do get around that, which is a huge upgrade, I think. It also has Death Touch and is a 1/3. So Death Touch good on blocks. But we have the pretty classic Jeskai Ephemerate shell with Cleansing Wildfire as their ramp and the package of being able to splash all the things that they want to be splashing. And then the main thing in the deck is that they have a lot of one-ofs, but Snuff Out, once again, is very, very important. And they're also able to play Crypt Incursion, which is pretty solid. It says exile all creature cards from target player's graveyard, and you gain 3 life for each card exiled this way. This is a great tech card versus a lot of the format. Well, not a lot of the format, but sometimes it really matters. Things like Flicker Combo, things like, maybe not Flicker Combo, but definitely Dredge or a Cycle Storm. It could come up and beat them. They have just a lot of 1-mana interaction in the sideboard, more Crypt Incursion, more Snuff Out, Cast into the Fire for the Affinity decks. A pretty solid list for sure. Now, moving up, we have a Boros Bully, but it's really just White Weenie splashing for Rally the Peasants instead of the Guardian's Pledge. They're not playing any gates or anything, but the reason that they're playing red is for Rally the Peasants, since it's an instant speed, and if you have 6 mana, you can give every creature +4/+0, since it has flashback. And we have Flaring Pain in the sideboard. It does make sense. I think maybe they got beat up by some Turbo Fog players for 2. We have 2 Coalition Honor Guards in the sideboard for this deck. So if you're looking to beat the Flag Bearers from your opponents, they're most likely not going to be playing Standard Bearer, which is a 1/1. They will instead be playing Coalition Honor Guard, which is a 2/4. And that means that if you're the Glee pilot, you want to be bringing in Snuff Out specifically. Otherwise, you will just be cold to it for sure. They're pretty heavy on the artifact hate with Revoke and 3 Dust. And got 3 Dawnbringer Clerics and 2 Destroy Evil. So they're very prepared for Bogles as well. Next, we have another Ephemerate deck in Ephemerate Tron by All Eyes on Me, which is, it's not Ali Izoni, it's All Eyes on Me. They are playing only 2 walls with 1 Mystic, which is similar to the way that I've been playing the Familiars deck. 4 Muldrifter and a Dinrova Horror. Dinrova Horror, pretty good win condition. And then it's just kind of your regular Tron deck. They're playing only 3 Impulses, 1 Ephemerate, 1 Flicker. Double Pulse of Marauders is interesting. They also have Seize the Storm on the deck. Wow, interesting. I didn't expect that at all. That must be just something they were testing. What else is going on in here? They have a Singleton Deep Analysis. Only 3 Lorien Revealed. They're on 1 map and 2 crop rotations to find Tron with the 4 Energy Refractors. I really like having 3 crop and then a bit more of the artifact stuff so you can get things going. Have colors. Lots of weird things in the sideboard, but you can check it out. The next Tron deck is Alter Tron. This is a deck that I piloted to a 5-0 after a lot of testing, and you can see some of the test leagues in the previous videos from this week. But it works on Mirror Retriever, returning a Mirror Retriever sacrificed to Ashnod's Altar. If you have Foundry Inspector in play, causing your artifacts to cost 1 less to cast, then the Mirror Retriever loop is going to be netting you colorless mana. And then you can turn that colorless mana into mana of any color with Energy Refractor, drawing through your deck with things like Deadly Dispute, Viscer's Insight. The main change to this deck was that Packdoll Terror, which is a 3 and a black 3/4 artifact toy. Says whenever this creature enters or another artifact you control enters, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. So if we think to Familiars, which is a deck that I love, God Pharaoh's Faithful says whenever you cast a blue, black, or red spell, you gain a life. And this card has been just huge for the deck. It makes it very, very difficult to kill you. It's very, very good against the burn decks. So here in Tron, we basically are playing Familiars. We have cost reducers here, making this like hopefully a 1-drop, but it just chains off a ton and really drains out your opponent. So it's kind of like a God Pharaoh's Faithful that actually wins the game. So because I now have 4 Packdoll Terrors, I was able to move Weather the Storm out of the main deck, which has been very, very good. Just making the deck more consistent and actually able to. You can win on just value training them instead of actually trying to combo. Just a new way to play the game. I'm very not sure on if I should play 4 Viscer's Insight and 3 Energy Refractor, or the previous version I've been playing with 4 Energy Refractor and 3 Rowan's Grim Search over the Viscer's Insight. Now, if you're Rowan's Grim Search specifically says for 2 and a black, you can surveil 4 and then you draw 2 and lose 2 life, which allows you to look at 6 cards for 3 mana, where Viscer's Insight is going to be always like a deep analysis, drawing you 4 cards, which is great. But sometimes you don't have targets, and sometimes those 4 cards are 4 lands that you could have just binned with the Grims. It's also a lot more costly on mana, so it's something to think about. Next, another Tron deck, but this one's getting pretty spicy. So we'll leave this here as spiciness level 2, even though I already spoiled their number 1. But Ishanez has created a Jund Tron. This is basically Jund Gardens, but Tron. They're playing 3 Refractor and 2 Network Terminals. Network Terminal adds a mana of any color, and you can loot by tapping another artifact. They've got Lembas, they've got Ichor Wellspring, Expedition Map, and Chromatic Star with 3 crop rotations. Then this deck is basically just looking to Hydra your opponent by making a giant Hydra or torch your opponent out. They're playing Cast Down, Breath Weapon, Mystical Teachings, and Snuff Out. So the fact that they're playing Snuff Out here is very interesting to me. I can see that they have 4 swamps in the deck. 5 swamps. Okay, so they're pretty heavy on swamps. They always want to get just 1 in play. Only 1 Crystal Grotto. Okay, I could see that being good. It's potentially like, if I'm playing the Ultratron deck, I just want to play 5 swamps instead of any number of Crystal Grottos, 1 Grotto as a tech, and then I could play Snuff Out instead of my Seal of Doom as sideboard. Well, that'll be something I'm going to have to try. Moving on to the spiciest deck of the week. Everybody's favorite, Persistent Petitioners. They're playing 10 Petitioners. You can tap 4 untapped advisors you control to have target player mill 12 cards. This deck is so fun to play. It's really, really good versus the burn deck, the burn deck. You've got so many 1/3s. Petitioners, Vandal. This Bellencryer's 2/1. Moth's Changeling, Glistening Seer. Okay, that's an 0/3, good blocker. On Prophet as a 4/of, and Generous End. Okay, so they're playing 4 Winding Way, great card. 3 Knot of the Bone and 3 Deep Analysis. Now I love this because Winding Way, looking for creatures, is going to bin some cards. And if you bin a Knot of the Bone or a Deep Analysis, that's some good value. You also have Bellowing Crier to kind of filter your draws. And they're playing, so they got rid of the life gain cards in the land drops, which I think might be good. They have 2 Simic Growth Chambers to pick up their lands again. Okay, so I'm seeing 0 Lorien Revealed, but they have Generous End to pick out their Tangled Eyelid. It looks pretty sweet. 2 Scattershot Arbiters to deal with fairies. Spellstutter Sprite is a fun tech card because they have a lot of changelings. Changeling, Changeling, and another Changeling here. That means that all these things are fairies. So you could potentially spell Stutter Sprite a Brood Scale. They have Vines of Vastwood for, so it looks like they have a 7-card anti-Brood Scale package, probably bringing out the Knot of the Bone, then maybe no, Vandal can't come out. Don't know what else would come out, but maybe the Glistening Seer? I don't know. It's pretty sweet. I think that you should definitely check out this deck. I did a video on it a while back if you want to scroll through the archives. So that is the decks of the week. There were definitely some spicy ones there. A few new cards being played from Aetherdrift. Meta changing, not really, but it's been pretty cool to see. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and we'll